Oi, galera! Estou tão feliz de estar aqui hoje com Niko, o primeiro brasileiro que eu conheci na minha cidade. Eu conheci você aqui em essa cafeteria e quando minha cunhada falou, Camila, tinha um brasileiro lá fora. Eu fui correndo para conhecer você, porque eu queria tanto conhecer um brasileiro. Eu lembro que eu falei, desculpa, você é brasileiro, estou aprendendo o português. E você falou, sim, sou. Eu falei, você falou, por que você quer aprender o português? E eu falei, porque eu amo aprender as línguas, eu falo já espanhol, italiano. E eu fiquei tão surpresa quando você começou a falar em italiano comigo. Sim. And I thought, this is why I learn languages. So I am so glad to have you here with me on my channel today, Niko. Thank you. Niko is going to share about his experience living in America. He's been here just over a year. And so are you received as warmly as I went running to you? How do Americans receive you here as a Brazilian?
Yes. There is a lot of expectation, and we for sure had a lot of expectation before we came here. But I mean, we couldn't be more lucky to choose Greenville and the South. People talk about like cultural shock, you know,
Yes.
cultural shock,
Yeah.
and we just didn't have it any. I mean, like
Wow.
we felt like we were living here forever. I mean, it was very good. It was very good.
That is
Yes.
amazing. What inspired you to come to America, to move to America, and how did you get here?
So we have 3 kids. The oldest one, Valentina, she's 13 years old. And then we have a gap of 10 years.
Okay.
And we always wanted to have more kids. So we tried everything that was available to have Luigi and Lorenzo, the twins. They are 3 years old, but we never could get them. So the Lord gave us to us, you know.
Wow.
So we thought, well, would Brazil be the best place to raise them, or should we move somewhere? And we thought about moving to Europe. We thought about moving to the United States. And at that point, I went to Italy and spent 2 months there by myself before the kids were born. Okay. The kids were due in January, and I was in Europe like in November and December of that year. But my wife, she always wanted to move to the United States. That was something that she had very strongly on her. So I came back from Italy, and I knew that we were not going to move to Europe. So I said, let's start working on the papers to go to the United States. And so we did that. We were approved. And I did my research mostly online. So I can tell you like what brought me here to the South was mainly like this English teacher that I had online.
Really?
Yes. So we were having English conversations for over a year.
Okay.
And he said, Niko, if I would move back to the United States, because he was currently living in Taiwan. He married a Thai girl.
Okay.
I would move to South Carolina. And he said, go check Charleston.
Yes.
Or North Carolina, Asheville.
Okay.
Okay, so we went to check both places. And on the way back from Asheville, somebody told me to come to Greenville, and we just fell in love.
Wow.
And we started our research online and found out that here it was like more of our political way of being, more like our culture, you know. So we thought it would be the perfect place for us.
That's awesome. I love Greenville as well.
And I can tell like there are many similarities because Brazil is a huge country,
Right.
you know,
Right.
like I told you that my family came from Italy, came from Europe. So in the south of Brazil, you had many waves of immigrants from Europe. So we still carry a lot of the habits, customs, you know, and just being from the south, and they're the south too. I know we are in opposite hemisphere, so like we have actually the colder weather there. And you here in the north hemisphere, you have like kind of a warmer weather. But anyway, people are warmer in both places. So that's what I thought. And I was an exchange student. I don't know if I told you that before, in the United States. And that goes back to 1990. Okay. I was an exchange student in Delaware.
Wow.
A senior there.
Wow.
Yes. So that was when my connection with the US started.
Okay. So yeah, tell me a little bit about your English learning process then. So you started out as an exchange student.
Yeah, and I tell you, like, my parents, they tried very hard for me to learn English in Brazil.
Yeah.
But I was very bad at. Okay. Very bad at.
Really?
Yes. So I consider, like, being an exchange student in terms of learning the language, you cannot have a better experience. And mainly because I was sent to a small town, Georgetown. Okay. And by the time I was there, we had 3,000 inhabitants there.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, I was really exposed to English 24/7.
Okay. Yes.
So I had to learn.
You had to.
Yes. And so I came back to Brazil and I had a good level. Yes, for sure. Over the years, I lost a lot, but now I'm catching up again.
Yeah.
I have this feeling that I'm catching up. The more you are exposed, and I can compare, like, by my daughter, she goes to school here, but she's with the family and we speak Portuguese at home.
That's awesome.
So she's not as, say, her English is not as good as it should be if she was exposed to English like 24/7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what would you say, like you said, you didn't have culture shock coming to America. What has been maybe a disappointment for you in coming?
Well, I tell you what, like, I'm 48 years old, so you have a lot of roots in your place, you know, just like you. Yeah. I was like that hometown guy, you know. I belonged to that place my entire life. So I had my connections. And the burden comes when you gotta make this network again, you know. Right. So you gotta have in mind, and I had that in mind, you know, that you're going to start from the zero, like from the ground. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So if you're not prepared for that, that can be a burden, you know, in the whole process. But I think we had time to prepare ourselves so we could overcome pretty much everything, except for little things like credit in the US. Right. Okay. So I had a social security number when I was an exchange student here. Okay. But that data, I mean, I was still in the system, but I had no history.
Right.
So it's like, it doesn't matter how much you have. I mean, you have no credit. Yes. So that's very interesting because we want to buy a home. Right. We want to buy a car, you know, to start that process, you know, and a lot of times you are asked like for tax returns and this kind of stuff. So, but I don't know, maybe we can make this suggestion to Mr. Trump, right?
We can call him up, yes. What would you say then? How did you go about getting a job here? And what do you do for work?
I dealt with shoes my entire life. Okay. Yes. So my grandparent was a shoemaker in Italy. My parents had shoe stores in Brazil, and I still own shoe stores in Brazil. So I've been working with that, like online and with all the tools you have available now. I went to Brazil a couple times in this first year that I am here, but I'm really trying like to make the bridge in between Brazil and the US, because in the long-term run, I'm not the kind of person, I like to pay attention and be hands-on on what I'm doing, you know. So at the long-term run, I would say that I would like to bring my business to the US, if not the same, you know, just build from the zero here, from the start.
Absolutely.
So I am an entrepreneur.
Yes.
So I'm always looking for opportunities. And right now we are bringing, I have a partner here in the US, and we are bringing a line of men's dress shoes. And as a side job, I am flipping houses.
Okay, so you have your hands in many different things.
I'm investing my time. I'm not getting the fruits yet, but I know we knew it would take us some time, you know.
So do you have a favorite Southern food?
Oh yeah, yes I do. Chicken and dumplings.
Okay, very Southern, very Southern.
So in the Italian dishes, you have it's not a similar soup, but it's called agnolini zuppa. Okay. Agnolini zuppa. It's made of small like pasta balls with meat inside, veal inside. I like the desserts like peach cobbler.
Yes, great summer
And,
dessert.
and this is the area to get the good peaches, like
Yes,
Georgia, South Carolina.
exactly.
And I think the desserts are very, very good. Well, pasta, we used to eat a lot of pasta, but like just the way you do the Alfredo sauce,
Oh, yes.
I like it better the way you do it here.
Okay.
Yes, and actually the spaghetti sauce, like spaghetti and meatballs. There are so many foods that I like here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I miss the churrasco dough.
I was gonna ask
Okay.
you about that. Yes.
Yeah, like south of Brazil is what do you call the pampas. So you
Okay.
have that traditional pampa man, which is the gaucho. Okay? So it's like the Texan here, I would say.
Gotcha.
So we raise cattle, we eat a lot of meat,
Uh-huh.
and I miss that, you know, because meat is more expensive here.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you do churrasco with your family?
Well, I do when I'm invited to.
Okay. Have you met?
So they
other-
ask me to barbecue, you know.
Yeah. So I know Brazilians also love their beaches.
Yeah.
And have you been to the beach here in South Carolina?
Yes, I've been to Charleston once.
Charleston. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what is your take? How are the beaches different here from Brazil?
Charleston is just like the beaches in Rio Grande do Sul, which is my state.
Okay,
You know, kind of an
right.
open sea, and you
Yeah.
gotta pray for that good water, you know, good
Yes.
warm water and clean water.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's an open sea and it revolves, you know.
Yeah.
But as you go, like the next state, the state over up to Rio Grande do Sul is Santa Catarina.
Okay.
And Santa Catarina, from there on, you have awesome beaches.
Okay.
It's just our state that gets the
Yeah.
current from the
Uh-huh.
south. So we get the colder water there.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you feel like your life has changed being here in America the past year with your family?
We as a family, we became more integrated.
Okay.
And we are sharing more love in between us, especially me. You know, I would go, like in Brazil, I would go out in the beginning of the day, you know, and I would come back home very late. And this is something that I'm not doing here. You know, I'm really spending more time with my family. I think especially because of the coronavirus and stuff, you know, that has affected everybody.
Right.
But I mean, like I know my family needs my support, even with the language, sometimes with a call, a medical situation. And so I'm there to support them. And there's nothing that can pay me more than have the opportunity to see my kids growing, my twins, Luigi and Lorenzo growing, you know, spending time with them.
How do you keep your kids still connected to Brazil while they're growing up in America?
Yes. Like my oldest one, Valentina, she is still very close to her friends in school back in Brazil. But the young ones, they came here, they were 2, you know, they just turned 2 when they came. And their connections are really within the United States. I mean, yeah, they are going to be, I mean, like Valentina, she might be, I don't know, like in 10 years from now, you know, but she will be a surprise. We don't know what's going to happen, if she will be more connected with Brazil or with the US, but she loves it here. But the twins, I'm pretty sure they will call themselves Americans because that's the place they know. We family, we do what, I mean, everybody does with technology, you know, we call them sometimes like 3-4 times a week.
Wow.
We had the visit already of my wife's family. They came and they spent a couple months with us to get to know our house here, our friends.
Oh, wow, that's
My
special.
mother is planning to come this year too, to spend like a few weeks.
Yeah.
So that's what we've been doing.
And I know that there's a lot of Brazilians that say, I want to go to America, I want to study abroad, or I want to live in America. But it's hard. I don't feel like it's an easy process. What advice would you give them?
Well, I tell you what, we when we decided, you know, we started to really look at papers like, well, to go to Europe, we are Italians, we have the passport, you know, so we could go and move to anywhere else except for Great Britain.
Yes.
But I mean, to come to the United States, you gotta find your way to come here. And there is like, if you go with a specialist, the immigration lawyers, they can analyze your case and see in what situation you can feel like. A lot of people come as students, you know, that would be the simpler way, you know, but you gotta prove, you gotta show that you and your family, if you come as single, that's I would say easier, you know, but if you come with a family, you gotta really show like that you can afford to maintain the family without working here and all that kind of stuff, you know, but like there's a lot of immigration lawyers that work specifically with that can give you good advice on that, you know.
Would you recommend to Brazilians to come try it out, check out America, live abroad?
I would say, like, if you come the right way, you know, you got to come with the right way, you know. I don't advise anybody to come differently than that, you know, because, like, you are a citizen in your country. You don't want to be marginalized, you know. And there are ways to come, just like I said, as a student. So I would try for sure, yes.
Well, I think it's very brave what you've done, really. I think that you can inspire many people with families, that it is possible to move to America as a Brazilian, to find your way, to start from zero, like you said. I think that you'll be
and bring in your best, you know. You got to be prepared to really, I mean, to accept the differences, you know, and to put your head in the place you are, you know. So don't start to compare this and that, or make the comparisons for yourself, okay? But be open for the change.
Yes, because
you know?
it's gonna be different.
Or try to, I mean, it's nice, like you said, it's nice to have like your fellows, your peers from Brazil, you know? But I mean, you gotta have in mind that you move to another place and you gotta begin from the zero, you know? You gotta build up your relationships here, you know? Not being with your like little Italy or little Brazil, you know? I don't advise that.
Well, you've said some amazing things here today. Thank you so much for being with us. I really enjoyed chatting.
I appreciate.
Yeah,
it was very nice talking to you, and I was amazed, just like you said. You called me out. I was leaving the coffee shop, and you said, and I was looking for this opportunity once you said you would set up a time for us to talk on your YouTube channel. That was very nice of you, Camille.
If you guys liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. I will be seeing you guys soon. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Good.
Ele falando português quase, né?
Sim.